stories can be told in a professional and international standard. I want to show them that the journalism they consume on cable TV can also exist here. Each day, that's my focus, that's my drive, to show the stories of our communities, of our people, matter just as much as anywhere else in the world. That's why we are where you are.
You're watching CNC3.
A very good morning. I'm Akash Samaru with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is defending government's bid to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months, describing it as a temporary but necessary measure to combat violent crime. Speaking ahead of today's parliamentary debate, Persad-Bissessar said a few more months of emergency powers are minor compared to what she called 25 years of murders, rapes, robberies and violence. She said government will continue whatever is necessary to remove gangs from communities and give law-abiding citizens a chance at a better life. The Prime Minister also argued that crime must be tackled through both security measures and social interventions, including parental responsibility legislation, school policing, and job creation programs. Police are investigating the murder of a 48-year-old prisoner at the maximum security prison in Arouca. Police said a prison officer was making the rounds inspecting cells at the prison around 5:30 a.m. yesterday when he noticed Christopher Banfield in a fetal position on the floor. The officer called for help from others and noticed that Banfield's face was swollen with blood oozing from his mouth. Banfield was taken to the prison infirmary where no vital signs were detected. A district medical officer officially declared him dead. An inmate has since been detained and held for questioning. Speaking with CNC3 News, President of the Prison Officers Association, Gerard Gordon, described the incident as tragic, but noted that such incidents spoke directly to staffing concerns raised by his association, as he lamented that due to insufficient manpower, prison officers were unable to perform thorough cell inspections after dark.
Given the current constraints that we have, our ability to interrupt, intercept, and prevent these things is very much compromised. That is what I will say to that question.
And the family of a Palatuvian man is demanding justice following the latest police-involved shooting in Tobago. According to police, 37-year-old Osai Murray was shot in his abdomen during a confrontation with an officer at Bloody Bay during harvest celebrations. Police in Murray approached the cop aggressively with a piece of bamboo and struck him on his arm. They claimed he raised the bamboo to strike again when the officer drew his licensed gun and fired at close range. The injured man was taken to Roxborough Hospital by his sibling Ryan Woods and later transferred to the Scarborough Hospital where he remains warded. Woods said Murray remains in serious condition, having lost one of his kidneys, while the bullet also damaged his liver and intestines. Murray's family says there has been bad blood since the policeman began dating Murray's former companion.
This is that thing we're going on years now. Since the police are with you, he's threatening my brother. All I do is tell my brother, when you see him, go on the right side and leave him on the left side like going my way. And yesterday, no, he get the opportunity to where he could shoot my brother and stay in. He's saying that all. My brother put a bamboo for him and hit him with it.
Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
I look at our city, a chance to really see in real time what's going on early morning in Port of Spain. That's actually a shot there of Nallis, and in the background you're seeing Woodford Square in all its splendor. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Today, Wednesday, the 10th day of June, 2026. We are getting ready for another action-packed program. A special day indeed for me on a personal note. Today is my son's birthday, so after the show, I'll definitely be making sure that we enjoy the day, you know. every birthday and every celebration is one to embrace. But as we get to the new cycle, there is one major talking point, and it's to treat with the SOE. That's on everyone's lips, and we will know today, I think more or less as a foregone conclusion, with the majority in the House. I think the government will go ahead with this extension until September. But what does that mean, and what's the image, what's the impact for not only us here in Trinidad and Tobago, but even beyond the shores as it pertains to business and how we look on the world stage? We will treat with that and so much more inside the first hour. So sit back, relax. Let's get into today's installment. Today, Wednesday, the 10th of June. It's your Morning Brew. See you soon. Well, I am running in this morning. Happy Wednesday. Trinidad and Tobago, JW signing on. Jason Williams, that's my name, and I'm here with you until 8 a.m. Action-packed program, carded, and we start immediately. As always, good morning to the amazing team here at CNC3. Let's see what's taking place via the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Now, we're going through, of course, we will continue with the SOE discussion. And in that regard, we welcome Dr. Garvin Hira, regional security expert. He will check in inside the first hour. Also giving some perspective on the SOE, Dr. Shane Mohammed, political analyst, treating with the SOE debate and just some of what's happening in the political sphere. And later on for Tobago Talks, again, Tobago budget, that discussion around the corner, and the Marine Park Bill, Dr. Denise Soifat Angus, she will check in for that very important discussion. Every single Wednesday, we focus and zone in on our brothers and sisters in Tobago. So we look forward to that inside the second hour. So yes, the SOE, there is this push now for the extension. It will take this SOE to September. And what we're seeing here via the front page. Now, this is actually a file photo. This picture was taken back in April of 2026 when the AG, you're seeing the commissioner there, and the minister, they were there for the commissioning of new police vehicles to assist in the anti-crime initiative. This took place back in April at the St. James Training Academy. So, all smiles, but I know it's, well, can't be business as usual. And yes, I know that's been a major discussion, not only this year, last year, but for many years. And if anyone could really put a dent into what we are seeing and what we're experiencing, well, my goodness, their name will go up in lights for eternity. But the reality is it's not a quick fix, and it's not a fix to just solve, or it's not a situation we could solve with just one approach and with what we're seeing with this SOE. And I know there are many finding ways to justify it and to defend it, but it must be all hands on deck, a multi-pronged approach, multiple limbs of consideration. TTPS alone can't do it. We as citizens need to also get involved, but I know why we don't, because there is that fear factor, there is that understanding, as it were, that sometimes the elements, the same ones you're trying to give information, or next thing they find out you give the information, people don't really trust the process and trust the system. So there is lots to fix going forward as we all try to grapple and put a final stop, a full stop on crime and criminality, because the reality is there are jurisdictions in the world with bigger population that don't have to go through what we're going through, you know. There are checks and balances and there are consequences from within the said protective arms who are given that mandate to serve, to keep us safe, and from the citizenry. So the reality is, I don't think we really know what we want, because if we really get serious, it's a problem. If we're not serious, and we take it light, it's still a problem. So we continue to have the major discussions, and all we can really do is govern ourselves and what we treat with. That's the first responsibility, self-governance, being able to do the right thing even though people are not looking. And I think too, what needs to happen, I think what could really work, I just want to throw this out there before I go to the back page. Yes, I know guns and ammunition, and that's the major push from the TTPS as it pertains to crime and criminality. But crime and criminality doesn't only exist with the illegal firearm and the bullet. Yes, it will always cause mayhem, death, destruction, lots of hurt, and it could mash up families and communities. But I want to suggest that the pen, even though granted my pen is a bit small this morning, let me whip it out. You see this? The pen, just as mighty as powerful. So while we go after the quote-unquote bad man and gunman and bandit, let's also treat with those who indulge in white-collar crime, those who shifting the figures in shirt and tie on a big level, and even those within the walls of governance, if anyone is deemed to be treating with themselves as opposed to the nation. I think that's what people, that is why the gunman and the bad man is getting on, they're getting on, because it's like, as far as they're concerned, well, there are no consequences on top. Nobody can touch up on top, so if all they could get on and do, and if it's Hamalam and Jam up there, there's Hamalam and Jam down here too. And there must be that particular same energy for all kinds of crime. And it's not just, obviously, as I said before, the illegal firearms and that industry needs to be dismantled. But for too long, we have had major wastage in this country, and we know who went and fattened up the pocket and who put their hand in the cookie jar, and we smiling, and we just normal. We turn a blind eye. So it's, as I would have mentioned before, multiple limbs of consideration to really get this thing back on track, back in a particular way where we can now finally tap into our potential. We should have been way further. Dubai and these places found oil way after us, but they had a particular mandate. It was a long-term vision, and look at that country today with the kind of investment. Granted, yes, they're in a hot zone, and right now, obviously, people are a bit nervous based on what would have happened earlier this year. But going there, going to the Middle East, seeing it for myself, what proper vision and well, I mean, listen, I don't know the full, the overall inner workings of countries on that side, but what I can say is what I would have seen via the infrastructure, and even more so the people, how they conduct themselves. Yes, there is equity, and with equity, there's not that particular impetus to go out there and steal and to rob. And if we could get ourselves to some level of equity, boy, I think that's what's lacking in the place, The haves have, and the have-nots don't have at all. And any society where that is commonplace, and that's part of the cultural, everyday existence, we're going to have the problems we have in. So we have to really treat with this. Can't fix overnight, it can't fix next year. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take somebody who could really put everybody on the same particular page and take us in that particular place collectively as a nation. But we keep the conversations going, obviously. I would love to hear from you when we open up the lines later on. We stand by for that. We went up against Russia yesterday and we lost 3-0. My goodness. King still without a victory. I don't know what to say with our team, I mean, don't get me wrong. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take some time. We have to obviously go through what we're going through before we could smile again. But it's been too long, and honestly, we should have been at the party. We should have been at that party that starts tomorrow, that World Cup that kicks off tomorrow in Mexico. Ironically, it's going to be a Mexico-South Africa kickoff to the World Cup, very similar to what happened in 2010 when South Africa hosted the World Cup, and Mexico would have been their first game, and South Africa scored the first goal to get that World Cup going. So I look forward. I just get a feeling this World Cup going to have some kind of bacchanal. It already started. The tone already seems to be going in that direction. But I mean, I don't want to goat mouth the tournament. I don't want to jumbie the whole affair. But I just find some of what's happening, it's really unfortunate. But when we get more time to deal with the football and do the deep dive, we will expand. Also, tonight, game number 4 inside that NBA Finals, the business end, the MSG. It's going to be alive tonight. New York Knicks trying to go 3-1 up against the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs trying to level up the series 2-all. Well, I could say it's not going to be a clean sweep. This might indeed go down to the wire. Let's head to the brief on this Wednesday morning. And in the brief, well, as mentioned, the World Cup begins. Let the magic begin, let the games begin. Pictures there of some of the standout stars. You're seeing Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Harry Kane, Cristiano Ronaldo, Yamal, that's right, and Vinny. Who's your pick? Who's your pick for World Cup 2026? I got 2, and I'll share with you later on. I have a particular perspective. It's really interesting. So when we open up the lines, I will probably share that during the course of the morning. But up next, let's jump into that very important discussion. Dr. Garvin Hira, regional security expert on the SOE extension and some of the security concerns around this said extension. Stick around. We come back with more after the break.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order. We are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance, but we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza, in Deba Shagonas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon.
Love eating spicy food, but soon after, that familiar discomfort begins. Heartburn, acid reflux, and bloating. Introducing Peptica Gel, formulated with aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, and simethicone to help neutralize excess acid. It's sugar-free with no chalky aftertaste and a pleasant orange flavor. Peptica Gel works fast to relieve heartburn, acid reflux, gas, and bloating, so you can feel comfortable again and get back to enjoying life. Peptica Gel, get the relief you need today. Available at pharmacies nationwide.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Looking for the ultimate gaming experience? Welcome to Phase 22 Gaming Lounge, where gamers of all ages come to play, compete, and have fun. Dive into your favorite games on PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, or race on our high-tech racing rigs. And experience the thrill of VR with PlayStation and Meta Quest. Our lounge is safe, comfortable, and perfect for everyone. When you're done, check out the latest gaming systems, accessories, and even Samsung and Apple phones. Visit us on the second floor of Gulf City Mall or call 786-2404 to book your gaming session today.
Dr. Garvin Hira joins us on the Zoom line, regional security expert to treat with the SOE extension. Caught it for today, and we anticipate this would be the order of the day. More than likely, September. We'll find ourselves going until with this SOE. Let me just, firstly, as always, thank you for coming on and bid you and yours good morning, Dr. Hira. Welcome.
Okay. Morning, Jason. Morning to the team in studio, to our viewing, streaming, and of course, listening public, regionally and internationally. So a pleasant good morning to all. And it's an honor to be here, Jason.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you, before we even get into the SOE and the extension and what that means, I want to tackle or at least pick your brain from a more security standpoint. What's the difference ultimately with the officers and their approach to policing and going out there to get the criminals under a normal circumstance compared to this SOE scenario? Because many are suggesting, yes, their powers are extended and they could go in without warrant. And I know what happens within the context of a SOE. But could that same energy, verve, that same drive for solving crimes and going out there in the community, can that still be done just under normal circumstance?
To be quite honest, it can. To be quite honest, it has been. However, we also have to take into consideration that, Trinidad and Tobago has shifted to a great extent with regard to when we look at crime, criminality, the level of crime, the heinous types of crimes that we have been seeing. And in that aspect, law enforcement needs all of the support, all of the muscle, all of the add-ons that they can get, be it through the legislation, through state support, through resources, in order to treat with some of the situations that they have outside there. Okay, so if we say that, let's remove the SOE, can we keep that same sort of energy, fervor, that same sort of oomph, and go out there and deal with it? I think it can be done. However, we have to recognize that at this time, if we are doing this, we must continue to, identify what we want to work with, what we want to achieve over the period. Because if we are to say what we are discussing here now without the SOE and go with that, it cannot be, portrayed as a reactive. It cannot be portrayed as a highly tactical sort of operational mode. It must be with an intent of addressing certain key goals and objectives and being able to deal with that. And I said that even for the SOE. So the short answer to what you're asking is yes. However, all of the support that can be given to law enforcement now, national security, defense, in light of what we are seeing on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, is welcomed, but it must be used effectively.
See, the reason I went there, Dr. Hira, those who level criticisms at this particular SOE extension, their argument is that the fact that they have to draw for this SOE, especially the officers, TTPS, being very vocal about, yes, we wanted the social welfare president, and others are definitely on board with it. Many are suggesting that is an actual admittance that, listen, we have failed and we need this extra layer, as it were, to go out there and really do that clinical deep dive as it pertains to dismantling crime and criminal organizations.
Yeah, I wouldn't go the way of saying fail because we are labeling. I think what we can definitely assess is the fact that, look, we're trying our best, but we need additional support. I don't think at any time the narrative coming from any law enforcement platform is that we failed. We cannot give the criminals, we can't give the underworld or those who are bent on breaking the law that sort of oxygen to think that they are winning the war. And so therefore we have to utilize strategies, we have to utilize tactics, but the SOE is not a crime fighting tool. And I think we have diluted that whole aspect of the SOE now to be able to treat with what it really is, having one that is under conditionalities. We don't have curfews, we don't have this, we don't have that. It's just an SOE where we have a certain amount of legislation power, a certain amount of what we would call ability to raid and to arrest and to hold people under PDOs. So, it's being utilized, as I said, but it cannot be used as a crime-fighting tool. And I think I'm seeing it more as a crime-fighting tool. Hence the reason why we have to now introduce strategy. We have to introduce some sort of timeline, working towards achieving certain sort of objectives that the citizenry, for instance, could actually measure the efficacy of the SOE. Otherwise, we are going to always just another SOE. And I think sometimes even on the blocks, in the criminal groups, in the organized crime groups, it's just another SOE because would there be drive-by shootings? Would there be murders of minors? Would there be drug trafficking? Would there be white-collar crime, a big one? Would there be high-level criminality in transnational organized crime still taking place? I think so, yes. So therefore, if we are going into a 3-monther, again, if as it is that it's going to be passed, then we're going to go back into the SOE, which in some circles is welcome, in some circles is we need it, then let us go at some of the the high threats, the high risk, and I think corruption, white-collar crime, those issues of transnational organized crime is also big. We can't be just going at one level, only taking certain people off of the streets, holding them under PDOs. Let's see some high-level investigations and arrests also. That is also needed to restore and to stabilize our country. I think we need to look at it in that holistic way. So I'm hoping the strategists in national security and defense are also on the table addressing some of those issues, and then utilize the corridor of the SOE to effect some of those results.
I said the exact same thing this morning, honestly, in my monologue, so it's interesting that you make mention of the white-collar crime. But let me ask you, as it pertains to our standing, our image on the international and regional stage. You're a regional security expert with lots of regional contacts and network. What does this SOE say about Trinidad and Tobago as it pertains to our image, the way we look with these regional and international partners?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the reflections definitely from the ground in the region, and the research has shown, is that Trinidad have a real serious crime problem. Trinidad, there are some issues outside there, homicides and deaths and shootings, so they have to be in the frame of a state of emergency. With regard to the socio-economic, it is also that the ground is reflecting, meaning Trinidad and Tobago, a certain amount of uneasiness. From the outside, people are thinking twice of even investing, because is the country really promoting a sort of, it is okay to visit, it is okay to come. People are withholding now and have reservations. So when it looks at the reflection from the ground looking in, it is that we are unstable. From the aspect of strategic, other countries are saying, well, if Trinidad has decided to go the way of an SOE, maybe something that we need here also in the region. So the SOE is also being discussed in some of the other countries to see how we can utilize that in some sort of reconditioned way in order to address certain areas, zonal curfews, zosos, as we were once advocating here in country. So there are two ways. One, some people are looking at it as a positive. Maybe it's something we can adopt and a model we can use in our country. But the majority from the ground level in the region, it is that we are not in a good state, Trinidad and Tobago, and we're really relying on an SOE to restabilize our country. But the effects, as I said, is not being seen. But there were models that were used both in Central and South America, Latin America, correct, and even certain parts of the region where we had curfews, we had SOEs being introduced, and that was to bring certain crime and criminality under control. Have we achieved that? Is the rhetorical question. Have we achieved some sort of bringing crime and criminality under control? I don't think so. I think what we've done is been able to keep the grass low, or keep the volume down for a while. And we have to also understand that these criminals are very in tuned with some of the intentions and operational planning of law enforcement, because there's an issue in the middle there, which is the rogue officers. We cannot dismiss that. We have officers who are aligned to crime and criminality. We have officers across the spectrum who are also part of the criminal, what I call network. And that is a serious thing. So I'm saying that even if we are going into an SOE, let us introduce some new measures of operations, for instance, and let's go at rogue officers and have some of them arrested and investigated. Those are some of the things we need to look at. We need to look at cross-fertilization. How can we utilize maybe some of the law enforcement tactics of our region? I've always been speaking, I've spoken it recently in an international forum, where maybe across the region we can have officers from various countries in the Caribbean also be working in Trinidad and Tobago, and vice versa. So we could have a sort of blending of our standardization to treat with crime and criminality, not for Trinidad, but by extension the region. So there's a lot of stuff available for us to work within country. Are we looking at it in that broad scale, or are we looking at it as a SOEs needed, PDOs, keep some people off of the street, quiet the thing down, and let's run for the next 3 months? We need to, is it myopic? Is it short? Is it a short vision thing, or are we looking at using the SOE as an opportunity to restabilize Trinidad and Tobago and remove that stigma that we are unstable, or we are a country that is struggling to keep crime and criminality under control? So
you touch on a point that's a really, it's one that's been challenging the country for many decades, and that's what you mentioned there, the person in the middle, selling information, transferring information. So in essence, any particular crime fighting initiative, and in this case, even though they say it's not, the SOE is being done to, as you said, keep the grass low. It's almost undermining the effectiveness, as it were, of the SOE. And more so, I wonder if the criminal elements, clearly they have climatized because they are going about their shootings in the broad daylight, brazen, under the umbrella of the SOE. But even the citizenry, I wonder if we have climatized, if the sting or the shock value of a state of emergency is now gone, seeing that it's part of our everyday reality at this point in time.
Yeah, I think the sting has reduced considerably, or the criminals have applied a sting-proof garment so that they can actually not even feel the sting. I would honestly say to the planners right now, to the strategists, if we are going to reintroduce this SOE, if we are going to debate the effectiveness of having one, let us consider for this one maybe some curfews. Let's try to control the thing a little bit. Let's try to keep people off the streets at a certain time. Let's be able to bring back some law and order, especially with the streets and in certain key areas where we could introduce the command and control of those areas, taking back certain operational capabilities within certain areas, because the criminal is of the opinion that they can move around as they wish. We have to send that clear message. It is not about just pulling people out and putting them under PDOs and having them arrested. We should utilize an opportunity of command and control, that we are in control.
But let me ask you, and I want you to elaborate, because you've touched on a very important point. But we find ourselves in a scenario where quiet Erin, where I was raised, that where I spent my formative years, you don't hear Erin calling in no bacchanal. I mean, there was a shooting on the beach a couple of years ago, but that situation, Mercedes, got the whole village heartbroken. So I said all that to say that any particular era right now, crime could, or a particular situation could rise up its head. So if we were to target certain areas, don't you think we might raise our ants nest if we go into the quote-unquote areas that might be the usual suspect? Do you think that police going in there at this point in time, putting a curfew on these said areas, might cause the same residents to go out, burn tire, burn fridge, kick up brass, and that in itself might cause a bigger civil unrest?
You're quite correct. It's a risk that has to be taken, but I think the greater message has to be communicated, and that I'll always say, we must always talk about it, Jason, about the narrative. I think the messaging is very important, and when a country is brought in to be part of an initiative, when we can be able to sell ownership as to what we are trying to achieve, I think it moves, leaps and bounds into working in a sort of synergy, in unison, towards an initiative, towards an objective. So I think the messaging has to be readjusted. It cannot be a we and them. It has to be a utilization of that connectivity, that community involvement, because a lot of people are crying out for safety and security, a restoration, a semblance of safety and security, a hope of safety and security back into their communities. It does shake my head. Are we in an SOE? Are we really in an SOE? When you see some of the crime and the criminality that is taking place. But it will be remiss of us if we do not raise the importance of corruption. We do not raise the importance of white-collar crime. We do not raise the importance of transnational organized crime. The level of crime and criminality in this country is not only street level. Street level is but that's one aspect of it. That's where we are feeling seeing the shooting, seeing the shells, hearing about the robberies, the rapes, the abductions, the homicide of minors. But there is a higher level that is controlling crime and criminality in this country that needs to be targeted. And I'm saying we need to have the confidence and the courage, and more so the support of both sides of the bench in our House of Parliament to go at this and go at this hard. And we need to put some people behind bars. We need to have some investigations that are internationally impacting to show that Trinidad is making a move towards the restoration of stability. And I think that is where we need to go. And that will involve some high-level people in country being under investigation, some high-level people in country probably being arrested. That is where we need to go. That is where we need to continue sending the message. Otherwise, it will be at a level where the country will be observed as being in an SOE, but targeting the streets and the street criminal. We have gone past the street criminal. Our eyes needs to be opened. And this involves people who are controlling big rolls of money at this point. And money cannot be the decider to quiet and to silence investigations. And I'm hoping that is not what is taking place in this country. And we have to get serious if we need to restore the sweet Trinidad and Tobago.
Let me ask you, as you look to wrap things up, and what you're saying is so spot on, because if we recall, let's consider Miami in the 80s, 70s into 80s, when the cocaine trade was at its height and tons were coming out of Colombia. I mean, it's so well documented with Pablo Escobar and others from Colombia into Miami. It was a free-for-all, and strangely enough, that is what built up the Miami that we experience today, downtown especially, with the infrastructure and the buildings. I wonder, I said that to suggest here that if we were to take certain players out of, and I agree, we need to, but what will it do to, let's say, the economy? Because many suggest that the black market and that underworld economy keeps so much afloat in Trinidad and Tobago. In a sense, there's some suggesting that we are actually in a narco state. Some feel like we are there already. So if we were to really go about it the way you suggested and to really pull out some of these big players, the big fish as it were, the white-collar men with the big money, and women too, I guess, where are we going to stand as a country as it pertains to many people who live and they feed off of that particular informal system?
Yeah, I don't think that the economy needs to be one that is depended upon in order to maintain or to prop or to sustain what is known as the spend power of any country. I think that is something where you are actually setting out. You know, and we have adopted a stance. We've seen and heard key people in government maintain a stance of eradicating the narco trafficking and bringing that to a close and an end. But it just can't be talk. It has to be followed up with action. And I don't think that dependency on that economy is going to put us in any sort of recognition as a country that is self-sustaining or utilizing the ROIs, return of investment, with regard to our energy or even our agri-system or whatever. What we have to recognize, however, is that transnational organized crime has the tentacles to reach into all levels of a country and its state agencies, and we have to start clipping out those tentacles and probably going at the head of this monster. We have, like for instance, right now, I think there's some sort of workshop or seminar taking place with regard to firearms trafficking or whatever. That should not just be a talk shop. That should not just be good discussions and issues of recognizing that we have a firearms problem or SALW, small arms and light weapons trade problem. It should be, how can we recognize that there's a problem and what are the solutions that we are going to adopt in order to treat with it? So it must be solutions, it must be actions, it must be rolling out, it must be operationalizing. So I'm saying that question that you asked there, I am not going to give that oxygen at all. We're not going to rely on the economy of the underworld to prop our nation up. I think we have enough sustaining, investing, and of course more so that ROI, return of investment, the diversification of our planners and our economists in order to rotate our country into one that can contribute to sustainable development. More so, however, we have to utilize as what is attracting. I think we're probably going to have a next conversation, Jason. What is attracting our youth? What is attracting the young, bright people in this country? Is it, this is the way it pivots now, is it a career of crime and criminality, or working for the criminal dollar than working for the legitimate dollar? Where's the attraction? And then if we identify where the attraction is, why is that an attraction rather than a legal career path? And I think this is where our researchers have to also look at. Homeland Security and Defense carries a deep dive into recognizing the build of society as we face it today. It is not just about law enforcement. We have to understand what is driving the ground, what is driving society, what is influencing the future generation, and move in a direction of stabilizing that towards being a law enforcement approach, one that can give us an operation of operationality, a vigor, a sort of vigilance to live a life that is in avoidance of that, and one that is straight and narrow. And I think that is where we need to look at. Are we a criminal-intended society, or are we one that is willing to give towards walking the straight and narrow and obeying the law? And I think that is where the researchers have to also come up with solutions. So SOE, Not bad at all, however, have a strong research aspect of it as to how can we move to some clearly defined objectives.
Dr. Hira, as always, all the best. Thanks for touching base this morning. We'll chat soon.
Oh, definitely. We should have a follow-up,
Yeah, be safe. That's right. Dr. Gavin Hira there, regional security expert. To continue with the discussion, one of our regular guests always enjoy conversations with Dr. Shane Mohammed. He's back with us, political analyst, to treat with it from the debate side of it, in terms of Parliament, and just give us a little overview as to the political landscape. Dr. Shane Mohammed, he's up next.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on CNC3 and start your wellness journey today.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chancotrace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
Mom, Dad, this is Trevor.
Hi. He's no Kieran. Back up.
Fling? That's why he crossed the road. It was funny when Kieran said it.
Oh, who could that be?
We're like the parents who don't miss your ex.
I can't believe Kieran is in the neighborhood.
CG United. Good like that.
At Modern Caribbean Enterprises Limited, we are making this Father's Day extra special. Enjoy special discounts, free giveaways, plus $100 off detox spa session. Experience our infrared ultrasonic blanket. Turn back the clock with our LED non-surgical facelift that reduces the signs of aging. Not sure what Dad will like most? Our gift certificates can help him choose his perfect gift. Visit us today and celebrate the fathers, grandfathers, and father figures who do it all. Call 653-0011.
Get a loan at Bremont. The process is simple. Fast and efficient approvals. Receive funds within 24 hours once approved. And no penalty for early repayment. Located at 4 Gallo Street, Woodbrook. Remember, we like to lend.
Gaming Express Limited is a premium importer and retailer of the highest quality brand name electronics. We stock the widest range of PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Samsung, and Apple devices and accessories. Visit us at Shop 52, Level 2, Gulf City Mall in San Fernando, or contact us by phone or WhatsApp message at 687-7480 or 301-9797 or 798-1280. Like our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on products and services.
Dr. Shane Mohammed joins me on the Zoom line, political analyst, to break down the due process for this debate later on. As always, great to see you, Dr. Mohammed. Good morning and welcome to the program yet again.
Morning, Jason. Nice to see you. Good to have you. Nice for you to have me.
So I'm seeing it's going to be a simple majority vote. So in essence, it's a foregone conclusion. Obviously, with the government having the majority in the House, this is just, I would imagine, theater later on. Chances are it will be extended until September. Could you break down to the viewing public how we've come to this place of the simple majority? Because many were suggesting that there's this kind of debate happening online where, because there was a little break in between, they were thinking that the independent senators would have been given a chance, but that's not the case. It's going to just be that simple majority. Walk us through the due process and how we have come to this place for that debate in the House later on today.
So when you read the Constitution, which is Section 10.1, it speaks about the time frame, and it says that the proclamation may be extended from time to time by resolution supported by a simple majority of the House of Representatives. So, however, that no extension exceeds 3 months, and the extension do not in aggregate exceed 6 months. So, in other words, when you go to subsection 2, that the proclamation may be further extended from time to time for not more than 3 months at any one time by a resolution passed by both houses and supported by the votes of not less than 3/5 of all of the members of each house. So, in essence, we've only been in the SOE for 3 months, which would have taken us from March 2nd to now. So that's the first 3 months. And now there's going to be an extension of a further 3 months, which would take it collectively to 6 months. So we're going to be, so up to 6 months is a simple majority by the House only. If you need beyond 6 months collectively, then you need the 3/5 majority that requires both houses of Parliament. So we have to check it. What we have to do is look at it from the timeline. When it happened, now when we were checking the calculation, there was a break, and in that break, I think there was a break of January, February, somewhere there, and then it started back in March. So you have to check from March to now. It's 3 months, and then they can go collect. They go in one time straight into it for another 3 months, which is a simple majority. I think that's why on the order paper, I think this morning it's there, but people are confused because it coincides with the finance bill. Because there's no need for the Senate in this regard.
Yeah, understood. And I guess, as I would have mentioned, I think it's going to be a foregone conclusion, and we will be going into this SOE come September. I want to pick your brain on something you said last week. I was watching the news, and I heard a comment from you, and my jaw dropped because I'm saying, interesting, Dr. Mohammed had that perspective, and this is to do with the Prime Minister's non-attendance, as it were, to these post-cabinet meetings. June 5th marked a year since she would have addressed a post-cabinet meeting. We would have had many ministers. She delegated that responsibility, and they went out to speak. And I remember your commentary was, going to paraphrase here, you said, we have come out of a scenario with a Prime Minister who was talking too much. He was too available, which is, of course, Dr. Rowley we're talking about here, to a Prime Minister who you think should probably talk to the nation about probably twice a month, if so much. I want you to elaborate, because I really could not understand that reasoning. I'm thinking, if this is a Prime Minister and many are not seeing her, statements are being done online. We don't even know if she's writing these statements because she's not physically in front of a camera to address the nation. We have children who are being murdered. We have not heard any commentary from the Prime Minister who cares about the children, Dr. Mohammed. I want to ask if you could give advice, if from the political analyst lens, in this current reality, if something needs to be adjusted by our current Prime Minister as it pertains to her communication and her way of communicating to the public.
So I think, the advice is going to be, ironically, you're the first person to ask it in that regard. And if I had to give advice, just simple advice, I would go to her and I would say, Prime Minister, there's a need that you go to postcard and speak to the media on a one-on-one. And she may ask why. And I would say, because of who you are, not just Prime Minister, but because of your personality. And there is characteristics of your personality that we cannot overlook as a people, as a nation, if I'm advising as a political scientist, that is very unique to you. That is, you come across, your personality is one way. If you're very, very, very upset with the Prime Minister, and if you feel strongly about a matter or your position, and she has that charisma that she walks into a room and she greets you, and just by the greeting, that whatever you were feeling comes all the way down to the point where when she sits there and she says, so what's going on or what's the issue? It makes you think twice to say, and how you say what you want to say to her to get your point across. So any level of aggression, your feeling of anger or whatever, is completely and absolutely and totally obliterated by just the presence and the greeting of the lady. Using that, I would say, at least once a month. It doesn't have to be for long. It doesn't even have to be unscripted. This is a list. You go in with a script and you say, these are the matters that would have, these are the pressing matters for the month of, let's just say, August or July. And this is what has arisen, and the government has taken this decision. I have been sought advice, and as it pertains to me, as Prime Minister, I sought advice from X, Y, and Z, and these were the decisions made, and this is the way going forward. Are there any questions? I will take, there are 5 issues that have arisen for the month of the specific month. These are what the statement says. I will take questions on one question on each of this and give it available to the media to ask whoever wants to ask the question.
And indeed, what you're saying, I mean, as it pertains to her presence, is spot on. I have been in the presence of the now Prime Minister. She was opposition leader at the time, and there is this particular charisma. And I've always said on the program, people do not care how much you know, they want to know how much you care. So there seems to be that particular, I don't know if it's a motherly instinct, as it were. She works it, and clearly she's been able to get back into the corridors of power. But the reality is, she is at this point in time a no-show on so many different levels. And I'm saying to myself, we came out of a scenario where we had a former Prime Minister who was very rough with the nation. He was talking a lot. Obviously, he was present, but the tone and tenor left much to be desired. But we have come now to total radio silence, and I'm really trying to figure out how could we go forward, especially in an ever-changing environment, so many external factors, regionally, internationally, and with what's happening with our children. She always speaks about the children. I'm yet to hear commentary on some of what would have happened with some of our children in the last couple of months. You know, just trying to figure out where we are and if she got the capacity still, because people are saying all kind of things, you know, Dr. Mohammed. I'm sure you're on the ground. I'm sure you're hearing people saying all kind of stuff.
I don't think it's a matter of the lady doesn't have the capacity. I think she has the capacity. She has the ability. The ability and the capacity, for me, is not the question. It more speaks to me. For me, it's more about what the advice that has been provided says. And if it's not necessary, and I mean, there are people there who control the communication framework of the government that may say, well, it's not necessary, you know, it's not needed. But then it is, because the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of the people. The people feel a certain level of assurance, compassion, a certain level of love, understanding. You just said it. All of that encapsulates the personality and the charisma that exists. And therefore, I think she should not forget that part of it. That part of it that has the ability to calm any storm. And I think I told that to your colleague when last week. Now, ironically, I saw President Trump do a sit-down with ABC. And when the report was that President Trump stormed off the set, I was, this would be interesting to see, because I was like, it was their confrontation. But even in the confrontation, the reporter said that the president had agreed to do a subsequent interview one-on-one with the said reporter, right? So there was something to look forward to. I'm saying that to say that even if you don't want to have a postcard as in terms of meet all the press, then choose a reporter that you feel comfortable enough with to do a sit down with. It's been 14 months. And, you know, have a conversation and let it get televised. So there are different mechanisms in the communication framework. There are various strategies that can be utilized to quell this unsettled area that the Prime Minister is in keeping.
But you're trying to tap dance around democracy there, because it can't be that you sit down with somebody you're favorable with. I mean, that person will not challenge or push the particular agenda and ask certain questions. The reality is, we're not in a dictatorship where you just treat with people who, you know, are your friends. I mean, you have to be able to face the music. And this is not only for the Prime Minister. I want to ask you, what's your advice also to ministers who are bypassing reporters, blowing past reporters like they don't exist? And even when they make a particular comment to the said reporters, it's derogatory, it's something that is totally far left, and they're just storming into the parliament. I mean, these folks were given the mandate to govern by the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and the reporters are asking questions on behalf of the said people that put these folks in position, and all of a sudden, Dr. Mohammed, it is baffling to me, the arrogance and the lack of concern and care. What, these folks don't feel they have to come and live in Trinidad after? What, they're going to go Miami or something, Dr. Mohammed, and clearly they're going to live outside?
You see, Jason, the thing about it is, most of our journalists ask the question about what. And when I teach my students, I tell them, what is a foundation question? That's where you start. Most times we already know the what. We should ask the why or the how. So I think that's one aspect of it. Two, people walk away from the media because they don't have answers, and sometimes the answers are not there because investigations are still ongoing. Legislation is still getting drafted. Policy is something that doesn't come just overnight. Initiatives. So, for example, I don't believe in the walking past, right? I think I come from an old school system where saying, listen, I do have a comment at this point in time. When I do, I will let you know. It's still a comment. But it's various strategies. It all comes down to, people who talk about political communication and the framework for communication need to understand political science and politics from a very realistic perspective, and not what they perceive is something that would work in Trinidad and Tobago system. And you can't tell people that they didn't protest for 10 years, because that is then juxtaposed by, we didn't protest for 10 years, or we didn't do X or Y for 10 years, but we also had to deal with ministers that walked off on us, was aggressive to us, spoke down to us, preached down to us, dismissed us. So do you want to be the one and the same? So those are things that needs to be checked off in terms of behaviors, attitudes, approaches. And that, it comes down to what are people's motivation? What was your motivation to get into government? To serve people, to do better, right? And to show that you are resilient enough to recover from a period that, in opposition. The motivation now has to be a collective motivation to ensure and to maintain and sustain the confidence of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. How do you do that? Will depend on X, Y, and Z. So strategies are just not for short-term gains. In innovation, they tell you strategy is short-term. Innovativeness speaks to long-term, and long-term longevity and sustainability. We have to think about this from an innovative perspective now.
As we wrap things up, I guess I just always enjoy our conversations. I want us obviously to continue later on at a future date, but it just baffles me that on your way to office, the media is your friend, and when you get in office, the media becomes your enemy. That same media, the same reporter, the same folks that you want to give stories to and rub shoulders with, on your way to the corridors of power, that's your partner, and after you get in...
Let me tell you this, don't feel bad. The same applies to political scientists.
All the best, Dr. Mohammed. All the best, man. We'll touch base soon. Be safe.
All right.
Yes. My goodness. Yeah, man, I will sit on the seat here and I will continue to use my voice to encourage and to insist that the leaders answer questions and face the music. And if you have a comment, just say so. Don't just walk off and blow past reporters like they do exist. Don't do them that. No, sir. Good thing I'm probably not outside there now, because with a little stint I would have had to understand what gets under the skin. Trust me, I would get a comment. But then I might have to spend 2 weeks home. Don't do me that. Yeah? We get ready for the 7 a.m. news update and your calls after 7.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today. Make sure you have yourself a great invest week by viewing The Boss Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Boss Report. CNC3, covering your world.
Time check, brought to you by the Central Bank and the National Financial Literacy Program.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Jesse Ramde with headline news here on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. Prime Minister Kamla Persaud-Bissesseh says Cabinet is considering measures aimed at improving public transportation services and reducing reliance on unregulated PH taxi operators following growing public concern in the wake of the murder of 12-year-old Mercedes Lane. Responding to questions from CNC3 News, the Prime Minister reveals that a Cabinet note is currently under consideration as part of efforts to strengthen traffic management and improve the public transport system. According to Persaud-Bissesseh, the proposal seeks to reduce reliance on PH vehicles operating within cities and encourage greater use of legitimate, regulated public transportation providers. She explains that the initiative would also address long-standing concerns that taxis and maxi-taxis are often required to drop passengers outside city limits, forcing commuters to either walk considerable distances or seek alternative transportation, including PH vehicles, to complete their journeys. Former Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan, speaking with CNC3 News, added that the incident had heightened public concern regarding unregulated passenger transport services. He argues that the absence of a formal regulatory framework makes it more difficult to verify operators, monitor activity, enforce standards, and investigate incidents when they occur. Patriotic Front political leader Michaela Pandey has questioned the government's decision to seek a 3-month extension of the state of emergency, arguing that the move coincides with growing public criticism and protest activity rather than solely efforts to combat crime. In a video posted on social media, Pandey said she did not believe the proposed extension was only about public safety and crime reduction, as the government has maintained. She pointed to what she described as a sequence of events beginning on May 27th, when citizens protested outside the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. According to Pandey, the government announced 50 no-protest zones the same day. She said nurses, workers, trade unions and other citizens subsequently became more vocal in demanding answers from the government and questioned why lawmakers were being asked to approve another 3 months of emergency powers before the current SOE expires on June 17th. And residents of Ridgewood Gardens, Golconda, are facing a growing crisis every time it rains. For more than 5 years, a collapsed drain has been affecting the community as it often sends water gushing through their properties. When CNC3 News visited the area, muddy runoff and slush were seen across sections of the roadway. Water had passed through yards, clogging drains and leaving visible damage along walkways. In some homes, soil erosion had already begun to undermine structures, leaving cracks on walls and water-soaked yards.
The drain has been collapsed behind this house and the house just before it. And because of that, all the water backs up and flow into other people's yard. That has caused erosion and water soak. It's actually soaked. The yard is soaked with water. And erosion under the houses, so the foundation have been compromised. Eroded to the point where you're seeing 2 and 3 yards between the floor and where the skirting was of the house. You're seeing that.
Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
back to this second hour. Today, Wednesday, the 10th of June, 2026. Let's check in, hear from you. It's open forum. Sit back, I will listen, take some notes. Enterprise is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Captain J.
Enterprise, what's up, my brother? Welcome.
No, I'm trying to get on to you. But I know the program is a busy program. But I'm saying, Jason, good morning to all the viewers, all those in Trinidad and Tobago. Jason, I have to say I'll be a bit short. The issue are going on right now in the country is very alarming, Captain J. Right? I will tell you, I'll give a perspective. Jason, I remember our present Prime Minister, when she took office for the first time. Okay, Jay? You know what she did the following day? She was in tall boots and bass broom in Big O Martin.
Yeah, with the big flood.
Helping clean up people's yard because there was a flood out. I assure you, Jason.
I remember. I think it was the same day, as a matter of fact.
What I reflected on, you know, we used to do that in Cuba. Fidel Castro, every cane season, used to dump tall boots and cutlass and go and help cut cane. I just take in, you know. But here it is now. When election time comes, all the white people do, calling thing and this, that, all kind of thing, all right? All you want vote. Well, in office now, people having problems now, and they can't come back home. They come here. There's no time coming someday. Right? And but you understand? And all they banning them from here, all they're trying to muzzle people in the country. There's not free. I mean to say people get more brazen, you know. We living in the last days, which that times hard to deal with come about. I believe the government should have, I know the government, I don't want to use certain statement because my court close finish. But the people, you see the Prime Minister, you see she have influence, Donald Trump and them, she Lincoln with, so you know she had a show attitude. Then Mooney and different things. Now that time, Jason, and that's what's going on. So we have to reflect people all they don't go astray, just be positive citizen, Jehovah God will deliver us safely. Just never. But there, all of that, blessed.
Same to you, Enterprise. Thanks a lot. Brother Faizo, as always, good to hear from you. Welcome, Faizo.
Good morning, my brother Jason. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome.
Jason, I want to start by saying, you know, I supported Devens.
Yeah,
right? So I expected them to do better, and I know they could do better. But as it is now, my brother, I am very disappointed in the Prime Minister and her cabinet and her parliamentary colleagues for the way they treat the media. Yes? It's amazing that they're not facing the local media, but you have people like Arnold Roberts and Philip Alexander coming out on Facebook and identifying people in very degrading ways. You know, and I'm very disappointed. They could use that same time to come and address Trinidad and Tobago in a meaningful way. Madam Prime Minister, this is a warning to you. If you don't get your act together and come and level with the people, there's a heavy political price that you will pay. I believe in democracy, not party. I will support a party if I feel the intent and intentions are noble. But what I'm seeing now, I'm very disappointed. Thank you.
Faizo, I'll let you stick with me for a moment. Faizo, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
You know, I'm a very fair person. You would have mentioned one out of the two names there. And I must say, even though lots of his statements on social media, very derogatory, less than complimentary, and it's in the realm of real menacing language, and we're talking here, Philip. In all fairness, he would have appeared on the show. He's the only man that would have appeared on the show about 3 times, and he never runs away from a microphone, you know. So he's one that, honestly, when it comes to mainstream media, as terrible as he might be in terms of his social media presence, he would, once a reporter put a mic in his mouth, he will answer, you know. So he's one that actually, in all fairness, and not as defense lawyer, but he's one that I must say, he takes the moment to actually, he don't run away and think, and he's actually answer.
Well, while that might be so, I want to remind you very gently, the same matches that we use to light the stove to cook our delicious meals is the same matches, if we misuse it, will burn down the house.
True. Well said.
And that is exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
So you might be you're availing yourself to the media, but you're shooting yourself in the foot otherwise, and the country and the party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yes.
Yeah, true. I just want to kind of put that in there because I know he's one that
No.
But what you're saying is spot on.
He charaded for the last 9.5 years and did nothing except destroy the economy. But he was the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Well, Faisal, I want to thank you as always, man. Spot on.
Yeah. Take care, brother.
Take it easy, Faisal. Hey, Santa Cruz. Good morning.
Yeah, Jason, morning, and morning to the people of Santa Cruz. And before I make my comment, I must say the people of Santa Cruz are suffering for water, Jason. People in Lacano, people in Cantaro, people in Parksville, they're suffering for water. We need WASA to do what they have to do to give the people in Santa Cruz, the entire Santa Cruz, low enough us suffering for water. Jason, I want to agree with the comment that Tabakit made yesterday with respect to the Commissioner of Police. If it is that the Security Council have to sit and decide that an extension of the state of emergency, it means to say that the police doesn't have a plan, and the plan have to come with strategic approach from the Commissioner of Police. And I am saying, like Tabakit, it better remove the Commissioner of Police and put somebody else, because he intends to run the police service with state of emergency. And I believe it's a travesty of justice against the people here. You also have another situation with a state of emergency. A state of emergency in any country doesn't encourage investors. Because as long as you continue with state of emergency after state of emergency, investors will say that is not a good place to go and invest anything whatsoever, because it seems to me like the country has problems. So I think the government needs to think carefully about the continuous state of emergency with respect to business people. And Jason, I want to say it is important to note, because I recognize that you supported Shagwanas with this question of giving the government a chance. But all industries also do quarterly performance appraisal. It is important to do performance appraisal where the government is concerned. Because if you don't do it, then at the end of the day, you would not know where you are in the scheme of things. The budget review in June month is a clear indication of doing a performance appraisal. And if you examine what is happening carefully with that, it is clear that the government hasn't performed properly, that they now want to borrow money. And I would end by saying, Jason, I support France and Spain for the World Cup Championship and Brazil third. Thank you, Jason, and thank the people of Santa Cruz.
Yes, Santa Cruz, I hope you really get through the water. This is the second time you're calling to tell us about the issues with the water. And before we get to Rima, there's not so much, let me talk to Rima first, and then I will explain what I would have heard from the caller from Chagonas and why I would have given him that particular support on the statement. Arima? No. Oh, it's gone. So we'll get a next call. So what Chagonas would have mentioned is that, and again, I listened carefully. He said that, and I think it's a fair statement. He said literally, after the 5-year window is over, then you could look back and you could make a determination. And of course, history will determine every particular administration as to their particular block when they were given the opportunity to hold the wheel and to push the nation forward. Only then and then you could say, listen, we went X amount of meters forward, or we went backward. And I think it's a fair statement. I don't see that as something being far-fetched or unfair, and I think that could be applied for every particular political party and entity that would have taken the wheel. When we consider NAR from 86 to 91, we consider PNM's particular stint, we considered Basdio Pandey, may he rest in peace, his particular stint, Mr. Manning, may he rest in peace. It's only really after their performance and after the dust settled, then they could say, you know what, that was a performer or a non-performer, as it were. So I think that's what he was kind of alluding to. Yes, I agree with you, Santa Cruz. There must be quarterly, probably annual appraisals. But ultimately, when it's all said and done and the dust settles, that's why we have an election cycle every 5 years. And indeed, the nation will give their particular mandate if they believe who was at the wheel handled themselves with distinction. They will say, keep it going. We're keeping on this particular ride. If that's not the case, they change the driver. But the question is, where are we going? You know, and we just, is either or really. It's either or. That's how we've been going for many years. So interesting, as always. And I want to thank the callers for checking in. Tomorrow, if God spare, and we have time, we'll do it all over again. Up next, Tobago Talks. I want Tobago Talk. We listen. Political leader of the IDA, Dr. Denise Soifat Angus. She joins us next.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Discover the taste of tradition with Fine Choice Meats. Our products are made with locally grown chickens, raised on a healthy low-fat diet with no added hormones or steroids. Our commitment to quality guarantees a delicious and nourishing culinary journey. From our farms to your family, choose Fine Choice Meats.
The Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, teaching the truth about God's people, God's plans, and the secrets of God, all written within the pages of the Holy Bible, which is the Word of God. Watch The Hidden Truth every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. on CNC3.
As parents and teachers, we came together to establish the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association because we firmly believe that there is greater strength in unity. Today, our schools face real challenges: bullying, violence, and fear. No parent should send a child to school and wonder if they will be safe. No teacher should walk into a classroom afraid of losing control. That's why we welcome the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service into our schools. They bring expertise, they bring skill, and most importantly, they bring the reassurance that learning can happen in peace. We believe in unity. Now we are stronger. We are on board with the police.
The School-Oriented Policing Initiative, securing our schools, securing our future.
Listen every Wednesday, Tobago Talks, and when Tobago Talk, we listen. Political leader of the IDA, Dr. Denise Soifat Angus. She joins me yet again. Always great to see you, Dr. Soifat Angus. Thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to everyone.
Well, I'm seeing that the THA, I'm looking at the notes, and it says that the THA will make its budget request for fiscal 2027 on June 22nd. That announcement, well, of course, would have come from the Finance Secretary, Petal Ann Roberts. And in that regard, we know Tobago would have received a historic allocation of about $3.72 billion for fiscal year 2027, representing at least 6.3% of the national budget. What's your anticipation as it pertains to this assessment and what's required to get the wheels turning in Tobago? Because I know you always make mention that the place is a bit dry, it's a bit slow, and we want to get Tobago back to its true potential. Walk me through this particular budget review.
Well, the realities that we are living with is the fact that whilst the current Tobago House of Assembly jumped for joy and convinced the people that it was the largest allocation ever, we are not feeling the allocation on the ground. They're still telling special interest groups and persons that they don't have money to pay for different things. They don't have money to support them. Yes, we have seen some road paving. Yes, they took up $250 million and sent to 2 contractors in Trinidad to build houses in Tobago. But other than that, we're not seeing or feeling the benefits of this increased allocation that supposedly we got for the last year. Now the question is, did the THA actually receive the allocation? Because allocation on paper and allocation received are 2 different things. And therefore, if we're not receiving it, this assembly is quite disingenuous because they have not been saying to the people that they have not been receiving the allocation. And that could be the only reason that I see why they keep saying they don't have money. Other than that, whether they're mismanaging the funds that they're being given. So I think they need to come clean. Whilst we continue to ask for more, you have to be able to demonstrate what you did with what you got in the last term.
Is it spreading? Again, I know you would have mentioned contractors and a lot of work being sent to Trinidadian contractors. What's the conversation? Is that now, is it a different reality? Are we seeing a change as it pertains to Tobago contractors? And more so, do the Tobago contractors have the capacity to do the heavy lifting on some of the big projects required for Tobago's development?
Well, it's not the first time we built houses in Tobago. And housing settlements and developments. That's not the first time we built roads in Tobago. And Tobago contractors have been used in the past year. And even if you felt they didn't have the capacity, it is the responsibility of the THA to build the capacity of the people on this island to take care of our business. And therefore, they should have been involved in ensuring that their capacity is built and give them the opportunity now to exercise and practice that. But like I said before, houses were built on this island previously, and therefore I don't buy it just that they didn't have the capacity to do it.
Outside of the airport that's yet to be officially open, what you could pinpoint as within the last 10, 15, 20 years, a major development, infrastructural development that would have happened there in Tobago, championed by the THA, or central government as it were?
That's a tough question. I mean, yes, we have had the airport that we still cannot open yet. Supposedly they had the highway that was built, or should I say the roundabout type of highway that was built when this administration came in the last 4 years, which, persons are questioning the type of work that was done on that highway because it seems to be, uneven right now. It's hard to pinpoint what exactly has been done.
The reason I'm asking, because I know development, people always look towards infrastructure, but I believe real development comes with human capital, with the potential of the people, education, skill. So I phrased it that way to get the infrastructure out of the way, to now ask you about the human capital development. Where is that conversation in the last 2 decades?
Correct. Well, we don't have to guess at it because the statistics are there to show that at least about 69% of our population coming out of schools are what we consider to be undereducated, which means they come out with less than 4 subjects. And so the rest, roughly gauging about 30%, they come out and then maybe half of them go into university. But at the end of it, with the brain drain and everything else, you basically have 16% of persons who are tertiary trained coming back to stay in Tobago and run the island. I don't think any island can get anywhere with that level of statistics that we have, and it is a challenge. And in the last term of this assembly, those statistics got worse. And therefore, we're not seeing much that is being done to turn it around. Everyone keeps saying, oh, we need to be like a Singapore. Singapore is our size and all of that. But you have to look at what Singapore focused on. Singapore focused on their education. Okay, education and decreasing corruption. And it is with those two things that they were able to truly catapult themselves into development that is expressed in the quality of lives of their people. Even persons who drive a taxi or have a landscaping business have a tertiary education in Singapore. Their education numbers are, I think, about 50%, 40 to 50% of persons have tertiary education that are there to drive the development of Singapore. So we have to not just say we want to be the greatest little island on the planet, and we still don't know what defines us to be that, but to use data to drive our decisions and to begin turning around where we from where we are right now, because it continues to be precipice, literally, that we're going down.
So ultimately, the best and the brightest from Tobago, they leave the shores. They either come to Trinidad to work or they go further afield. That's basically the reality of Tobago at this point in time.
Correct. They are frustrated because they can't get the jobs because, you know, if you have an assembly has to start thinking further than the regular jobs that you have. Looking at the modern day, where we are going, and determining what type of capacity in terms of your development of young people that need to get you there. And that is where you place the emphasis.
Let me ask you, what's the latest via the Marine Park bill? You could give us a ball by ball. Where are we at this point in time?
Absolutely. The Marine Park bill is truly a big disappointment to the people of Tobago. And I say to the people of Tobago, and not just to the boat operators or the reef operators or the jet ski, because it affects the whole of Tobago. It is a sweeping bill, okay, that restricts public access to marine areas. Imagine persons who are accustomed walking up on the beach. They will now be restricted from doing that. You can get a $10,000 fine if you don't have a permit to walk up onto the beach in Pigeon Point or wherever they determine to be a marine park area. It threatens traditional fishing activities in the area because persons normally would go there and get the bait that would then go out and be used for other fishing activities. So it is going to affect the fishing industry. You have excessive powers that are given to a single authority, an authority that is deemed to be the administrator and a secretary, where they can have, they issue permits, revoke permits, they regulate access, they determine what are marine park areas, even without Parliament's involvement, and they are responsible for collecting all of the revenue. That is what they no longer want boat owners and all that to collect the revenue. The THA is expected to collect the revenue. Now that is kind of dangerous. If they don't have if they cannot easily pay persons and do different things on the island like that, the level of bureaucracy in terms of creating these permits and also collecting fees and now disbursing fees to the boat owners, it's a challenge, and they are not seeing the commitment in that document to disburse monies to them. I mean, this is their livelihood, so it is quite sweeping and does not protect the people who have been there for a long time, the traditional persons who would have worked. And therefore, they are calling for the rejection of the bill, and they want to have a comprehensive review of the bill involving not just the boat owners down there, but also all of the people of Tobago, all coastal communities, because at any given time, they could determine that it's not just the Buku area they're dealing with now, but they're now defining other coastal materials, Castara, Charlottesville, as marine areas, and therefore regulating them in that way.
Thanks for that perspective, and keep us in the loop as more information comes to hand. It would be remiss of me not to ask, because you are a political leader, and I know that you keep your pulse on the national political landscape. So just to get your thoughts on the SOE extension, which more than likely will go through today. It's going to be a foregone conclusion. We might definitely be going into this SOE until September. What's the IDA's perspective, your perspective on this extension?
Well, the IDA is based in Tobago. So, we have a saying here that when Trinidad sneezes, Tobago catches pneumonia. And essentially, this is what the SOE has been doing with us in terms of our tourism product. It has, decimated our industry because when you have or mention an SOE in the country, international advisories come out to reflect such. And therefore, you have international travelers who will now be changing their destination, no longer destination Tobago, but maybe the closest island that they can get to Tobago in the Caribbean. And tour operators abroad are hard-pressed to even push Tobago as a destination because of these sweeping SOE powers that we have. And therefore, on a whole, we have to ask, what is the cost-benefit ratio, and are there other things that the government should be doing and can be doing such that this period of the SOE is not continuing to be extension after extension after extension. I mean, the IDA has been calling for a causal study on how crime or of crime, what is driving crime. And, it's amazing. I just heard last week of a young man in school who has been acting up, wanting to get into crime, doing things, that are quite troubling, to get himself into jail. And when questioned, the young man said, basically, listen, I love my sister, and my sister in jail in Trinidad, and I can't get down to Trinidad to see her regularly, so I will just get into jail so they could send me to Trinidad, and I could be there with my sister. Again, if you don't understand what is really causing crime, which could be different from community to community, then we are, all we're going to have is SOEs, because we don't understand the nature of the beast that we are chasing.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for the perspective, as always. Keep us in the loop. And another, I would say, impactful Tobago Talks segment. All the best to you, Dr. Denise Soifat-Angas.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. A political leader there of the IDA touching base with us on this Wednesday morning. We get you ready for a men's mental health conference. It's happening tomorrow. West Moorings, the location, and we get some details from some of the key stakeholders. The resilient man. Let's get more after the break.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
A very important conference is going to take place, and we want to invite, especially our men, to be part of this. We want to welcome to the set this morning Dr. Camille Antoine, a development and counseling psychologist, and she's here with great company, all the way from the U.S., Professor Drew Leffman. He is a licensed clinical social worker. He works there in Mississippi. That's most middle America kind of way there, country, in a way. Yes. So we want to thank you for being here, Professor, of course, Dr. Antoine. Great to have you on the program, and we look forward to tomorrow. It's The Resilient Man?
The Resilient Man, the hustle behind work and life.
Give us details as to start time, location, and how one could attend, and I want to get down to some nitty-gritty with the professor in a few.
Sure. So the start time for this conference is at 9 a.m. We go for the full day, 9 to 3. We're going to have this conference at the Chamber of Commerce, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce. And in terms of getting tickets, persons could call the number 733-3350 for ticket purchases. And the location of getting these tickets would be at Campus Plaza in Parkhead.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Professor Leffman, do you think men's issues and mental health as it pertains to us, the men, still remains one of the most overlooked topics in society? What's been your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest issues is that there is a way that we teach men from a young age to be a certain type of person, to almost fit into a box. And that really leads to a life of limits in a lot of ways. And as a result, I think we think that men are fine the way they are. They're strong, they provide, and their issues are maybe overlooked as a result of that.
Yeah. And of course, I'm looking at the theme because the theme is really able to capture lots of the lived reality of men, especially here in the Caribbean. I want you to expand, Dr. Antoine, on the theme. It says here, behind the hustle of work and life, end quote.
Yeah,
hustling, because we
on a hustle.
We can relate to hustling.
Correct, and I think that came from just being in the therapeutic space. You know, being an advocate for mental health, generally having interactions with my male clients, I would say things like, you know, I think it's important for you to have a circle where you could be vulnerable, where you could share. And I think what these general statements I would hear from my male clients would be, how do I even do that? Or, you know, I am expected to earn, I am expected to, you know, be strong with my family. And I think what has happened with that, this theme has emerged out of interaction with clients, or even sometimes friends. When I say things like, hey, I think it's important for you to express how you feel. And they say things like, that's not normal for them to. And I think sometimes what calls into question is their masculinity. And so the hustle behind work and life represents the general man. And that's kind of where I said, you know what, I think I need to be that person to create that space where men could feel comfortable to share, understand that their mental health is very important. And if it takes having a conference to highlight that, then so be it.
You know, Professor Lefman, I want you to expand on what Dr. Antoine would have mentioned, because yes, there is this perception, you mentioned it, that as it were, the social construct of men being strong, hiding the emotion, you know. They tell little boys don't cry, leave that for the girls.
That's right.
That's instilled in little boys, and sometimes you grow into a man and you believe, well, I have to hold it in.
That's right.
How do we strike that balance, allow men to express themselves, to sometimes put on the guard, but not be perceived as weak? Because that's the last thing a man wants, to be perceived as this weak, soft man. If we say it in the Caribbean, we say we don't, a soft man.
Soft man, yes.
Walk me through that, through your studies and just the empiricals. How do we treat with that?
Well, that's a great question, because really it's a cultural question. You're asking, how do you change a culture that supports the man to be a certain way and is uncomfortable with that change when a man is perceived as soft? How do you change that? I don't know that that's really the point necessarily, to change it, but it's to be aware that men don't have to all be the same way. And I also think that there is a strength in admitting when you need help. There's a strength in being able to acknowledge some of the internal, what's happening inside our minds and our hearts, to be able to own and accept those parts of ourselves. There's a strength in that. And so if we can reframe what strength means and allows for a greater expression of the truth of our humanity, which is that we all have a vulnerable inside. And I think boys are just taught to have a really strong shield, and that nothing can penetrate, nothing gets in or out, and that really leaves us limited.
Yeah. Well said, well said. Dr. Antoine, who are some of these speakers? I mean, obviously, Professor will be there tomorrow. He's part of, I would imagine, a very well-curated and very intentional cast.
Yes. So we actually also have another international speaker, Mr. Lyndon Mitchell, who would also be chairing this particular conference. So I am not a speaker at this conference because I can't speak to the male experience. I am just the person providing this space for this opportunity to happen. So I know tomorrow men would really be filled with a lot of knowledge, and even in terms of practical tools to kind of support them.
Will there be a question and answer segment? Will the men be given an opportunity to express themselves? I know tomorrow is going to be a safe space,
yes,
but I want to know about that engagement.
Yes, so there will actually be a panel. So we're actually going to have another psychologist, a clinical psychologist, Mr. Keishon Lachman. So he would be part of the panel where we would allow a segment for persons to write reflections and ask questions about, things in terms of how they could get support moving forward from this conference.
And in that regard, Professor Lefman, how important is it for us men to have a safe space? Now, we were talking about my lived reality before we went on live. I thankfully got some foundation friends, people who I grew up with, that I could be myself. I could, talk to them. There's no judgment, and they talk to me too when they're going through their moments. But for the man who, let's say, doesn't have that particular layer of friendship, how important is it to have a space, and where can a man find a safe space?
Oh, great question. I think that's going to be one of the things we really hit on in this conference, actually, is when we think about what drives resiliency, how do we become a resilient man? That social piece is everything. How do we create networks and connections with other men that can hold a less judgmental space for us? How do we change some of how we relate to one another so that it's not all about laughs and good times, but it's also about diving just a little bit below that and what's really going on, what we're actually anxious about, for example. We don't like to acknowledge that we are worried about our economic situation, about our family situation. We don't have all the answers like we're expected to. So to be able to begin to learn how to communicate that with another man, with someone who's going to just listen and not necessarily try to fix it all is everything. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be trying to model some of that and come up with some strategies for men to walk away from the conference ready to start trying to experiment with that.
Hey, Dr. Lefman, I want to thank you for being here. Safe travels back when you depart, and make sure you take this man for some local cuisine.
He had doubles, actually.
Fantastic. Oh, yes. Excellent. Excellent. Any closing remarks as we wrap things up? Again, just a reminder as to start time and where they can get tickets.
Yes, so sure. So the conference, again, is going to be held at the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce. We start promptly at 9, we end at 3. I know tomorrow, of course, World Cup is kicking off, but we're going to allow persons, we're going to end the conference on time so persons could go and view their first game. And in terms of ticket purchases, tickets could be purchased through just calling this number, 733-3350. And in terms of the office located for these tickets, it would be in Campus Plaza in Parkhead, Richmond Street.
Dr. Antoine, Professor Lefman, thank you so much for being here. And I know tomorrow will be a tremendous success. We need more of this. And yes, to our men, to all the men, all my brothers looking on, it's important to reach out. You know, we can't sometimes carry it on our own. We are named Atlas. We can't carry the world on our shoulders. So it's important to reach out and seek that counsel and just share and have that level of camaraderie with your fellow man. Up next, we get into Tuco's election. That's right, I'm seeing where Kurt Allen is putting himself up to be the leader of the organization. So let's hear his particular mandate, his vision for Tuco. Tuco president candidate, Kurt Allen, the Bajan of Kaiso. He joins me next.
Is exhausting. The burning pain and tingling that won't go away? Introducing Myolaxin D Gel, made for pain relief. Fast absorbing, non-greasy, and easy to apply. Its Carbomer gel formula delivers relief deep at the nerve level. Oleoresin capsicum helps reduce pain signals, while diclofenac eases inflammation. Menthol and camphor provide fast, soothing comfort, so the pain eases and comfort returns. Size doesn't matter. This 15-gram tube gives you maximum relief. Myolaxin D Gel, available at pharmacies nationwide.
At Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center, we're all about time. In fact, once you check in, there's no time to lose. Reconnect with a little family time. Make a splash with some pool time. Spend some treasured quality time. Or just immerse yourself in some quiet time. Indulge your senses at dinner time. We even have the perfect venue when it's your celebration time. So it's high time you visit Cruise Inn. Choose our day pass or call 607-4000 to make your dinner or hotel reservations or to find out more about our event spaces. Take a time out at Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
When I go through the notes every night, there are certain names. When I see the name appear on the schedule, I smile. And this guest, I mean, we go back so many years. Really, really happy to see him putting his hat into the ring. I know when it comes to Kaiso and the culture, he is a real champion and a warrior in that regard. The last, Bajan, as they say, Kurt, of Kaiso?
Yes, last Bajan of Calypso.
Kurt Allen joins me. Look at you now, Kurt. Tuco president candidate. Who would have thought, huh? I guess it was just natural progression, a matter of time, right?
Yes,
why now, Kurt? And firstly, good morning. Great to see you and welcome.
Good morning. Well, why now? Tuco has over 600 members, and it seems like it's a one-man show. So I want people to understand that Tuco belongs to the Calypsonians. It does not belong to the president. And a vote for Kurt Allen is a vote for the membership's voice. And that vote will matter when the time comes.
So you're going up against the incumbent. Who else is in the ring? What's the full slate of candidates?
The full slate so far in terms of the presidency, I've also seen Mr. Roger Mohammed, bodyguard, has also entered the race. So that is a bit of a concern in terms of the splitting of votes. We have to look at that element as well in terms of splitting of votes. So who knows? Probably we will get together and have a conversation at some point, which I'm hoping to. We had an earlier conversation in the beginning. So I'm hoping that we could continue having our conversation so that to ensure that the vote doesn't split.
What's your vision? What's your going on? What's your mandate as it pertains to?
My mandate, in the first instance, is to bring back respectability to the name Tuco. When people hear the name Tuco, they sort of pull back and they think chaos, they think confusion, especially with the latest president and the executive in terms of the public domain, the amount of controversies and the chaos. So the first thing will be to bring back a level of respect to the organization, to bring back unity amongst the membership, because it's the Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization. That word unified, that U, it means you. Yes, you. We the members have to get back that unified front. We have to start smiling again, being friends with each other again. Those are the elements that when I came into Calypso, I saw the camaraderie and the togetherness. Even when Tuco was formed in 1993, I was part of that push and that part of that drive. And from then to now, we would have expected growth and a certain level of development, which we actually grew and we developed. But I think the members, we need more. Based on what the expectations were, I think that we more or less didn't fulfill that mandate of bringing Tuco to the point where it could be embraced by the national community.
Is the office still there on Jerningham Avenue in Belmont?
No, the office has changed to Rosalino Street in I want to believe it down Aripita Avenue side.
Oh, so Rosalino. It's now on the avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to figure out, infrastructure-wise, just logistics-wise, what's required, what's needed. Do you have your executive already in place? And if so, who are some of the members? Could you disclose
No, but I don't have a slate. I'm running as an independent, because whoever the members elect in office, I believe I can work with them. I think I could work with any Calypsonian or anybody. Once you're aspiring to be a leader, you have to be able to work with anybody. So once the members elect an executive on the 12th of July, I'm prepared to work with those members, even if it's some of the incumbents. Because I do believe it's not a matter of incompetence with the members per se, but I believe it's leadership direction, and not just leadership direction, but creative leadership direction, knowing when to do what, how to come up with different ideas to respond to certain challenges. Those are the things that we see missing. We see movement. We see it's missing in terms of bringing back that excitement to the art form. So that I think that as a creative person, I can bring a creative element to the leadership of Tuco, which I believe is lacking.
Let me ask you, because you entered the arena very young, you're still very much young at heart. I know that the energy is there.
we're seeing a new generation of new age Calypsonians coming into the fold, Freetown Collective. I'm seeing the likes of Young Brother and others. How do we attract more young people into the art form and more so get them to become members of Tuco?
We have to get them to first understand Calypso and what Calypso represents. So we must deal with the school system to start with. We must get Calypsos back into the schools, get the students interested from that level. And we must remember that the Young Brothers and the Voice and all these young ones that you mentioned, that the Black Star and the Valentino, Duke and all those guys were the same age at one point, commanding that level of respect for Calypso. So it's a case where it's not about the youth, it's about their level of involvement. So we want to increase that level of involvement. We have seen, as you said, Young Brothers, Michael Tisha did well in the Monarch finals. Previously to that, we had Ben Jai, we had people like Ronnie McIntosh, who was associated with the Soca, still making the Monarch finals. So we need to encourage more of that, to get young people involved and create that space where they feel comfortable and they don't feel when they're coming in here and they're unwanted, because my generation felt that. We felt the disconnect at some point. Hence, I left the Calypso circuit for a while and went into Roy Cape All-Stars and the soca market with the band, because there was a time where these Mighty This and Lord This, they didn't seem that they were welcoming. I even sang a song called Pass the Ball, encouraging the Mighty This and Mighty That to pass the balls to the younger ones. So it's the same thing. We need to pass the ball to the younger generations, like the Young Brothers and the Michael Tisha and the Kyle Coweys and the Mark Eastman. We need to pass the ball to them.
And even when they went into the soca in 99, I remember you went all the way with the Bees in Town. It was in 99, right? If memory serves well.
99.
Yeah, that's right. I tell you, I live it.
Both of us even closer as colleagues, because it's two soca monarchs talking to one another right now.
That's right. And you know, in that regard, when we consider the soca part of it, let me ask you quick. I know Tuco is involved with the road march, right?
Yes.
Right. If elected as president, any plan to restructure a competition? Because there's been many a debate over the years as to road march and what road march really represents, if it should be a song that people cross the stage with, or should it represent the song that people play on the road? What's your take on road march if elected to co-president?
That conversation has been going on for a long time with many different perspectives. So many perspectives that one perspective shouldn't be allowed to hold sway. So my first thing will be to speak to the membership, the general council, and seek guidance on that. Because even this year, we had accusations of moving the goalposts while the game was in play. And those are some of the allegations as well that in the public domain that caused the organization to be in disrepute. So that is a valid exercise that I will undertake to clarify that position with road match. Is it a road match? Is it a stage match? Is it the same way like before, where foreigners were not allowed to compete? In particular, even foreigners, when we look at Lord Nelson in particular, being a dual citizen of the United States, there was a controversy with him where people felt that he would have won the road match or either won it unofficially, but he wasn't. He wasn't considered a national at the time. We had the same case with Short Shirt at one time from Antigua. So these are the conversations that we need to have in order to put this music on the international front in a unified way. Not to separate, but to unify.
In the 30 seconds that remain, why a vote for Kurt Allen will be a vote in the right direction for Tuco president come July?
It will be a vote for transparency and accountability. Members will know where their finances are going, because at this point we don't have any audited accounts, and that is one of the things that build a lot of mistrust. So if you don't get the books, it means that we see you as crooks. And I want to see Calypsonians. The Calypsonians are struggling, not just the Calypsonians that you see to the front. You're talking about the background vocalists who spend many years singing for sometimes 30, 40 years. And when they find themselves in trouble, or the voice is not as good as before, for whatever reason, they may fall ill or sick. There's nothing for them. You have Calypso musicians who they are not the ones to the front. And sometimes some of them are facing some serious struggles and no assistance is there for them. Some of our aging Calypsonians, our elders. So these are the things that I want to bring to the forefront to help fix, especially with our struggling artists. But one thing I must say, I would like a unified front. Right now, the art form and the fraternity is divided. I'm calling on all candidates. Let's get together before this election and have a discussion. We are seeing that we cannot get access to our membership list until probably 8 days before the election. These are the things that we need to unify with and have a discussion so that we can present a palatable slate.
Kurt Allen, great to see you, my friend. All the best.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
And I'll definitely monitor this election. The last Bajan of Calypso, Kurt Allen, Tuco president candidate, putting himself up for the rule come July. With that, have yourself a great day. We have come to the end. It's been quite a joy, as always, to share the morning with you. And God spare, I'm back for more tomorrow. All the best, TNT. And happy birthday to my son, Jalen. Happy birthday, son. See you soon.
You're watching CNC3. As an affiliate of CNN International, we now join their current programming.
Who are simply trying to live, work and raise their families here. Racism, intimidation and violence are wrong wherever they occur. And those sentiments have been echoed by the Prime Minister Keir Starmer as well. But this has really raised concern as police continue to call for calm over the potential for this to further fuel anti-immigration and even xenophobic sentiments